was rich, I remember who I was. I was lost, I was blind, I was running out of time. Sin separated, the breach was far too wide. But from the far side of the chasm, you held me in your side. So you made a way across the great divide, left behind heaven's throne to build it here inside. And there at the cross, you paid the debt I owe, broke my chains, freed my soul. For the first time I had hope. Thank you, Jesus, for the blood applied. Thank you, Jesus, it has washed me white. Thank you, Jesus, you have saved my life, brought me from the darkness into glorious light. You took my place, laid inside my tomb of sin. You were buried for 3 days.
I'm up and running. Oh, look at that. What do you know? So, good afternoon. How's everybody? Good? Having a good day? Yeah. All right. Anybody here like dinosaurs? She does? You do not? They're okay. What do you mean? You do like them? Okay, very good. All righty. Who has a favorite dinosaur? Or you know the name of a dinosaur? Yes? Tyrannosaurus Rex, my favorite. Yep. My top one. Yep. Same. Really? Okay. Anybody else? Yes? Oh, very good. Very good. Very good. His name is Rex? You don't like T-Rex? I mean, well, Draco Rex is pretty cool. You saw we have a Draco Rex skull. Very good. Very good. So, Parasaurolophus, very cool. I would love to get a head to one. This is the same kind of creature, hadrosaurid, as you know. Love to get a head of a Parasaurolophus. That'd be so cool. Would love to get one of those. Haven't got that yet. It's on my list of dinosaurs I'd like to carry. Don't need its whole body because we already have enough big full bodies that we fill our trailer with. We are blessed to have the largest traveling mobile dinosaur fossil museum in the United States. This is part of it, as you can see. It's pretty cool because we like dinosaurs. We like talking about them, especially in regards to this book. But one in particular detail about the dinosaur is, well, even defining it. What is a dinosaur? It's a reptile. Okay, very good. Reptile. Okay, give me the characteristics of a reptile. Cold-blooded. Anybody know the technical term for that? Ectothermic. There's endothermic and ectothermic. So it's ectothermic, very good. So it's cold-blooded. Scales. And you've nailed it so far. Some do, some don't. Some are in the water. Yep. What is the mechanism by which they breathe? Do they have gills? No, what do they have? They have lungs connected to a nose, okay? Nostrils. They breathe through their nostrils, okay? So you put all of those characteristics together, you have a reptile, okay? Other creatures may have certain ones of those, but not that whole combination, okay? Reptiles have all of those. And what are some reptiles we have today? Crocodile, iguana, lizard, snakes, alligator. Okay. Those are all reptiles. Dinosaurs are reptiles. So and there are lots of varieties of dinosaurs. Obviously, they don't all look alike. So then what makes a dinosaur a dinosaur? If they're reptiles and crocodiles are reptiles, is a crocodile a dinosaur? Is it a dinosaur? How many think it's a dinosaur? How many think it's not a dinosaur? And you have no idea. Okay. You are correct. It's not a dinosaur. Crocodile is not a dinosaur. Well, then what makes these guys a dinosaur? Huh? Because they're big? Okay. So does the size of something make it a dinosaur? No, that's not what makes a dinosaur. Is it because they're extinct? So does that make the woolly mammoth a dinosaur? Because it's extinct? No. Because that's a mammal. You're correct, sir. What makes a dinosaur a dinosaur? Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up, stand up. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be one of those days. It's like, oh, it's so embarrassing. Because I'm at an age where this is embarrassing to do things like this. All right, everybody put your arms out like this. Get the elbows out. Elbows out. Okay, very good. All right, it's called the push-up pose, push-up position. How does a crocodile or a lizard walk? Everybody go like this and put a hand out. Okay. But then when it goes to take its next step, what does it have to do? Yeah, or an iguana or any lizard. Okay. I saw chameleons on TV this morning. He was doing this number on a tree branch, and the other one was running away from it at this speed. I mean, it was a high-speed chase. It was crazy, okay? So this is what the reason is because of their anatomy. Their legs stick straight out. Both their arms and their legs, they stick straight out, okay? And so that's why they have to do that. Tell me, is that how a dinosaur walks, though? No. Dinosaurs have a little different part in their anatomy that gives them their own category. That's why they get their own classification. Everybody give me a hole. Like that, okay? They have this fully open hole. It's not a heart, it's a hole. In their hips, okay? Big open hole, okay? It's not a partial hole. It's not a cupped hole. It's not just a cave. It is a full open hole, okay? The technical term is, everybody say acetabulum. Acetabulum. It's the acetabulum, okay? Or acetabulae for both of them, okay? So it's fully open, okay? So it's called the fully perforated acetabulum. Everybody say fully perforated acetabulum. Nah, you're going to be pretty smart now. You talk to somebody about dinosaurs. It's a hole, okay? They got a big hole. But because of that, look at the leg. Look at the leg. You see how the leg goes straight up and then makes a little right angle turn. Anybody know what that part of your leg is called? Anybody? Femur. Very good, okay? It's the femur. Woo! Smart. Okay, so it comes up like that. But notice crocodiles, it's just sticking there. It's just straight. These have a bend to it. And like a ball, it pops into that socket, okay? It's called the bent femoral head, okay? It pops right in there. So because of that, their legs are underslung. That's how they describe that. And so dinosaurs, by definition, are reptiles that walk upright on their legs, okay? So everybody repeat that. A dinosaur is a reptile that walks, everybody go like this, upright on its legs. That was pitiful. Come on, get your tail sticking out. Get your tail, because see how the tail, upright on its legs. I don't want you to ever forget it, okay? All right, sit back down. That's enough of that, okay? That's what makes a dinosaur a dinosaur. Now, are there varieties of dinosaurs? Yes, we have ones that walk on all fours. We have some that walk on all twos. But notice what they all are doing, whether it's they're walking on four or two. They're walking how? Upright on their legs, okay? Every dinosaur, almost every dinosaur has that hole in the hips, okay? The exception are the notosaurs, just like you know, the ankylosaurs. So, but they still have the bent head, and it's resting on it. Anyway, so that's what makes a dinosaur a dinosaur. Now, you're pretty smart, but let's talk about when they were made. First of all, who made them? Exactly, okay? What number day did he make them? 5th or 6th? You just read that. Huh? 5th, 6th, 6th, 5th. How many think it was the 5th day in history? How many think it was the 6th day in history? Why the 6th day? Which animals? Land animals. Land animals on day 6. If you're walking on your legs, where are you walking? On land. So what number day are dinosaurs made? 6. Now, question. This guy right here. This is a Tylosaurus. Everybody say Tylosaurus. Okay. Hey, who's heard of a mosasaur? Okay, very good. This is in the mosasaur family. He's like a cousin to a mosasaurus. Okay. He's in the order of Mosasauridae. Okay. This is the biggest one ever found thus far. It's 45 feet long. It was found in 1911 by a guy named C.D. Bunker. So its name is Bunker. Okay. So everybody say hi, Bunker. That's Bunker, okay? What number day would his kind, the mosasaur kind, have been made? 5. That's right. Why? Water creatures. That's right. He's got big flippers, as you can see, okay? He lived in the deep ocean, big ocean. This is a big creature, 45 feet long. He needs a lot of water. By the way, he's found in the middle of Kansas. What are deep ocean creatures doing in Kansas? I was at the Sternberg Museum in Hayes, Kansas, and I got to go down into the repository and look at some of the fossils underneath, which is really cool. And the curator there is like, yeah, we found they had all kinds of mosasaur skulls they had dug up, and it's still there in the field jackets. It was really cool. You know Kansas was underwater at one time. Said, yes, I did know that. I did know Kansas was underwater at one time. Anybody remember when? During a great flood. That is correct. Exactly, okay? So I'm like, you don't say. How about that? Anyway, is that a dinosaur? Okay. How many think a mosasaur is a dinosaur? How many think a mosasaur is not a dinosaur? All right, let's review. A dinosaur is a reptile that what? Walks upright on its legs. It doesn't even have legs. Exactly. So by classification, is it actually a dinosaur? No. Plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs, all of those types, your Sauropterygia, your Ichthyopterygia, and your Mosasauridae, are they dinosaurs? Shake your head like this. By definition, they are not. Okay? So to use the term water dinosaur, no such thing exists. Okay? They're just technically marine reptiles. Everybody say marine reptile. That's what it is, okay? That's technical classification, okay? So all those are just marine reptiles by definition, okay? Now, do they show up in dinosaur movies? Of course, you know, because they're cool, all right? They're amazing, but amazing creatures that God would have made on what number day? 5, okay. See my big flying creature? Anybody know what it is? Ooh, good guess. A pterodactyl, though, which has now been reclassified as pterodactylus. I don't know why. They're always changing the names. It's ridiculous, okay? They have a wingspan about 3 to 5 feet. That one is a 24-foot wingspan. The one you saw out in the entryway when you came in is an 11-foot wingspan, okay? These are bigger. They're still pterosaurs, okay? They're in the order Pterosauridae, but that one specifically is called a pteranodon. Can you say pteranodon? They are much bigger, okay? Pteranodon longiceps. There's Pteranodon sternbergi. There's a couple of different species of them, okay? This is the biggest size of one to date that has ever been described. 24-foot wingspan. Question? First of all, what number day? What number day? If it's got wings, What number day? 5. If it has wings, day 5. Okay? Winged creatures, all winged creatures. From butterflies to ladybugs to crows and pigeons and chickens and pterosaurs. Okay? What number day? 5. All winged creatures are day number 5. Now, is that a dinosaur? What does he have? He has legs. He has legs. But guess what he doesn't have? He doesn't have the hole. It's cupped. It's just a cup that sticks up. So by definition, is it a dinosaur? It is not, okay? Technically, it's just called a flying reptile. Okay, flying reptile. And yes, it is a reptile. It has certain features on it that make it a reptile, okay, and not a bird. They have found in the impressions of the rocks the membrane. So it would have had a membrane-like wing, kind of like a bat, okay? But it's cold-blooded reptile, okay? So, but what number day? 5, okay? So that is the difference between a dinosaur and what's not a dinosaur definition. Now, you'd be really smart when you talk to friends about dinosaurs, because I'm sure you have lots of dinosaur conversations, right? Oh, yeah, absolutely, like every day. Okay. What we're dealing with here is the biblical worldview of dinosaurs. It's based on what the scriptures tell us. It's based on what we're given in science, actual, real, observable, testable, repeatable, falsifiable science, not the opinion of scientists, and definitely not the science portrayed in movies. Okay? And in the biblical worldview about dinosaurs, we have when they were made. Okay, so what number day were actually dinosaurs made? What number day? 6, very good. Now then, we study them and we learn things about them, but as I said, the number one thing that determines people's understanding of dinosaurs, guess what it is? It's their worldview, yes, but that worldview has been shaped by something. And sadly, it's not usually by books or research papers or scientific magazines. Instead, it's by what? An imagination that has been crafted by movies. In particularly one specific movie, Jurassic Park, 1993. Ever since that movie, that has determined how we view dinosaurs. Because everybody saw the movie. It's one of the biggest blockbuster movies in history. I forgot to look it up, but it's in the top 20 movies of all time. Okay? Big time movie. Okay? Huge movie. Maybe 25. I can't remember. Anyways, massive movie. Guess what every young person then in the 90s wanted to see when they went to a fossil museum? They wanted to see dinosaurs, but how? The same way they saw them in the movies. And if they don't see them that way, do they want to go see them? No. Are mom and dad going to want to pay for the ticket price to go see stuff that their kids aren't going to like? No. So guess what every natural history museum does from 1993 on? They put all their displays to reflect what everybody saw in the... Does that sound very scientifically accurate to you? No. In the movies, they have this thing called, what's our favorite dinosaur? T-Rex, okay? And how do they portray T-Rex? Oh, yeah. Let's take a look here real quick. Oh, wait. Hang on. Let's do this one. Hello, wake up.
How fast are they?
There we go.
Well, we clocked the T-Rex to 32 miles an hour.
Ooh, how fast? 32 miles an hour, exactly, okay? So in the movies, they are running, they are chasing, they are the apex predator, they're after anything and everything, and the only way you can escape is if you have a faster vehicle. In the case of Jurassic Park, you had to have a Jeep Wrangler, okay? Because they can run how fast? Is that scientifically accurate? Probably not. You see, at the time, it somewhat was, because at that time, the latest study that had been done said they could run 31 miles an hour. But what have we learned since then? They could run maybe 11 miles an hour with a quick little burst of 17. Now that's still pretty good clip, right? That's not too bad. That's not too shabby, okay? But is that anywhere close to 30 miles an hour? No, absolutely not. You see, T-Rex is big. He's humongous. That T-Rex over there, that is the stand specimen. Let me show you a picture of it. Okay, it has the most complete skull ever discovered. Very cool. Okay, he is 13 feet tall at the hips, so think like the top of the backboard. Okay, and 40 feet long. The bigger one, Sue, in the Chicago Field Museum, that was in the Black Hills Institute, South Dakota. It is now at the Natural History Museum of Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. The biggest one, like Sue, she's 14 feet tall at the hips and about 43 feet long. Notice you measure dinosaurs at the what? The hips, because they walk how? Upright on their legs. So that you can see why. See, look at my dinosaurs here. You can see why you measure them at the hips, okay? Well, a creature that big and that many tons, does a creature that big want to run really fast? No. Why? It's big, it's heavy, takes a lot of muscle, doesn't have the leg to body ratio and muscle ratio to run that fast. But also when you're that big and you weigh that much, several tons, 6, 8, 10 tons, what would happen if you tripped? Do they have arms to catch themselves? No. And when you weigh that much and you hit the ground at 30 miles an hour, you will cause internal injuries that will kill you. Okay? So it's like it should have been common sense just to think about it. But now, through computer modeling and other studies and everything like that, we realize that's not the case. But everybody wants to see T-Rex do what in a movie? Run and chase and eat things. Exactly. So at the St. Louis Science Center, let me go back to this. They used to have this sign there that said this. They just changed it finally in the last 5 years. But up until just 5 years ago, the sign said this: at least 20 feet tall, weighing 15 tons. Wait a minute. Sue's the biggest. How tall is she? 14. I have no idea where they got 20. No clue. I just totally made that up. 20 feet tall. Largest flesh-eating animal ever to walk the land. The dinosaur possessed massive jaws armed with 7-inch knife-like teeth. Okay. I don't know where they got that either. This is the St. Louis Science Center. Okay? It's supposed to be the Science Center. A knife. How would you describe a knife? Sharp, pointy. How sharp is that? Not that sharp, is it? No. The whole point about T-Rex teeth is they are round and robust. They are not thin and sharp like a raptor. Okay? They're big and round and robust. Okay? Here, you can pass that around. Everybody look, T-Rex tooth. Okay? That is a research replica of an actual real one, okay? That's why you can even see the serrations on it. There's a little serrating there, which helps it release and get through the skin, but is it going to slice through skin? No, absolutely not, okay? It's going to puncture because it's crushing through it, okay? So again, how accurate is the sign? Not very fast. And then look. Bite-force 3-foot, bite could leave a 3-foot wide hole in its prey. Tyrannosaurus was a swift and savage hunter, capable of speeds up to 40 miles per hour, as fast as a modern thoroughbred horse. We should have had that in the Kentucky Derby this weekend. This is the Science Center. Is any of that true? Like none of it. Are we even talking about Bible and evolution and all that stuff? No, we're just, because what does everybody want to see about T-Rex? What they saw in the movie. Exactly. The man-eating, absolutely, okay? So this is why I tell young people all the time. When you see or read anything about a dinosaur, you need to immediately ask, how do we know that? Okay? There are actually several who think he may have been more of a scavenger than he was a hunter. Because what's he got? Big, giant nose. He could smell stuff from a long way away. And is he really fast? No. Maybe he scavenged some in order to eat, okay? by the way, they talk about how do they not get eaten by a T-Rex in the movie? What do? Don't move. They won't see you. T-Rex actually has some of the best vision that we can tell of any dinosaur. Why? I have no idea. I have no idea why they did it in the movie. It's just a funny thing, so they can do it in the movie. But people believe that. That's what T-Rex kids. Did somebody say their favorite is Spinosaurus? Why is Spinosaurus your favorite? Huh? He does have the really cool sail. He has longer arms, yes. That's offset by his sail and his tail length, okay? And also his body build. He's not as robust around. He's a little skinnier, okay? So he can have the longer arms because he's got to be balanced, okay? That tail is balancing him. So you can have longer arms, but what do you have to also have? Bigger tail to offset it, okay? So he is bigger. He's 50 feet long, okay, compared to 40 feet long on a T-Rex. Why do most young people, though, say they like Spinosaurus better? Because he's cooler? Does anybody remember what happened in the movies? In Jurassic Park 3, what happens? Spinosaurus killed the T-Rex. See, by the third movie, we're going to show another T-Rex again. See, in the first movie, we had the big scary one, okay? It's called Rexy, in case you want to know. That's its name, all right? It shows up again. She shows up again in Jurassic World 1 and I think 3. I think she's in 3 as well. Anyway, but then in the second movie, we had to have 2 T-Rexes because that was even cooler and scarier. But then in the third movie, are you just going to throw in a third T-Rex? No, we're tired of that. We need something bigger and stronger and scarier. So they use Spinosaurus. And in the movie, Spinosaurus takes out T-Rex. How accurate do you think that is? Well, let me show you. Oh, that's the wrong slide. Here we go. Okay. Because of computer modeling and studying the jaws and the shapes and where muscles and ligaments would attach on these creatures, because we have enough skull material to do that, this is the measured pound force. That's just the measure of bite force that they had, okay? And this is best guess on what's available. So Carcharodontosaurus, 4,300 pound force. Carnotaurus, 4,500. Allosaurus, only 880. Spinosaurus, 3,600 pound force. Giganotosaurus, oh, we had that one in the last Jurassic World movie to fight against T-Rex because it's bigger as well, and it could take out T-Rex probably. Because we had to do it again. You know, we had T-Rex in the first one, had not much in the second one, and then so now we need a bigger one in the third one again. So Giganotosaurus this time, 4,500 pounds. You want to see where T-Rex comes in? How do all the other biggest or bigger dinosaurs compare to the bite force of T-Rex? They're not even half his bite force, maybe a third his bite force. The T-Rex bite force is considered to be the strongest bite force of any purely land animal to ever walk planet Earth. His bite force is so strong, if and when he bites on the neck of a Spinosaurus or anything else, he will literally crush. Do you understand why the tooth is so big and round instead of sharp and thin? It has to be to absorb the bite force. He would literally bite through his neck. He would bite pretty much through the neck and literally decapitate him. That's how strong his bite force is. Again, can you believe what they're showing you in the movies? Every time how do we know that? Is that right? Is that true based on what we actually understand from the, no, okay. Let me show you this one. How are we doing? Okay, we're doing good. Come on, wake up. Hang on. Okay, Hey, there we go. Okay. Come back. Come back. I thought I was going to show you this one. Oh, almost there. Why are you not moving the way you're supposed to? Hang on. Let me redo that. Oh, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Watch this. What do they always have these guys do?
Okay.
Hey, you! Look at me! Look at me! Hey! Come with me. Come with me. Okay, there you go. You're welcome.
What do they always have these guys doing with their heads? Headbutting. Where have we seen them do that? In the movies. Have we ever actually seen it in real life? No. No, what's it based on? What's it based on? It's based on what? The skull. Absolutely. Okay? It's based on the skull, this big, heavy skull. Obviously, it could absorb some impact, right? And so it could run its head into things. Okay? That was the idea until 1994, the year after the first Jurassic Park movie. This specimen was discovered up in northwestern South Dakota in this big general area that they dug up called the Sandy Site. And they found this. Anybody know what this is? Pachycephalosaurus. Okay. Everybody say Pachycephalosaurus. Okay. This one was the first one, and still to this day, from everything I've read, the only one to be found with portions from every part of its body with the same one, but it was the only one found with its neck still attached. This one's called Sandy. Everybody say hi, Sandy. When Sandy was found, and we have her whole skeleton in our other trailer, it's pretty cool. Anybody ever seen an animal run its head into stuff? Like a goat or a ram? Okay, when it does that, it puts its head down, it's flat. The head and the neck and the back are perfectly aligned, so that way it can absorb that impact, right? Okay, so everybody go like this. Everybody put your hand up like this, okay? Like this, okay? All right, we can do that, right? Okay, that's not a problem. Notice Sandy's neck, though. Everybody put your hand like this. No, come on, you got to get that elbow up, okay, like that. Now, how hard are you going to want to run that into your hand? Oh, ouch. No. It's an S-shaped. There's lots of, look at the space. Can you see through the neck? Can you see the little holes, the shine through? All right, there's a lot of gap in there. Is she going to be able to absorb an impact when her head is like this and the neck is connected here in the middle of her head instead of up here? No. They actually believe she would break her neck if she ran full speed into something. Okay? Not to mention, is it flat? No, it's dome-shaped. So when she hits something, it very easily could just glance off and really snap her neck. Well, then what is that dome head for? Some they found in several other specimens of Pachy, Stegosaurus, Stygimolech, puncture holes up here that match with what? So now they think they may have tried to spike things, okay? But this is not for offense, it's for defense. It's a shield, it's protection. It's anywhere from 6 to 8 inches thick of solid bone that protects their head. Now, is that as cool in the movies? No, okay? But now you understand, again, another example that a lot of this is made up. Here's the deal, though. A lot of times, the things they are showing you are not just because they want to have a cool movie event, a movie effect, but they're actually trying to get you to believe something. And that is especially the case with these creatures. highly intelligent. They hunt in packs. They scheme their patterns, their approaches, their attack patterns, until they have you surrounded and decoyed and outflanked, and then they spring on you. And even if you're in another room, they know how to open doors, use telephones, computers, all this kind of stuff until they get you the prey they so desire, is what's shown in the movies. Do you think any of that is true? Even from that scene. Anybody see a problem with that scene? The dinosaur comes up to the glass and does what? Steams it up. What? So do you know what it means to be cold-blooded? It means you are whatever the temperature around you is. So if it's 80 degrees outside, what's your body temperature? 80 degrees. If it's 50 outside, what is it? 50, okay? If it's like 120, that's too hot, so you have to sit in the shade and radiate heat off your body. Can they then internally heat up the air in their lungs to be warmer than the air around them to steam something up? No. Well, they just did that for a fun movie effect. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Listen to this opening scene from the... Listen to what Dr. Grant says when he gets out and he looks at it, at the Brachiosaurus.
It's a dinosaur.
Now listen what he says.
You can just tear up the rule book on it. Cold-bloodedness, it doesn't apply. They're totally wrong. This is a warm-bodied creature.
This thing.
This is a what? This is a warm-bodied creature. Guess what they teach about every single dinosaur in Jurassic Park? That they're warm-blooded. That's not just for movie effect, is it? That's on purpose. What are they trying to teach about these things? What are they trying to teach about them? Is this scientifically accurate? No, absolutely not. We can study anatomy and see what makes something cold-blooded or warm-blooded. And in the case of warm-blooded, all of you up here in your noses, okay, you all have these things called nasal turbinates. It's called the concha bone in there. And what this thing does, it helps regulate your body temperature, specifically the air coming into your lungs. Its job is to the best that's possible, when you breathe in air, by the time it hits your lungs, it's your body temperature. That's what this bone up here does. It's a kind of a cartilage type thing up there. 99.9% of all warm-bodied creatures have the little nasal turbinates. Guess what cold-blooded creatures never have? The nasal turbinates. We can look inside the skulls of every one of these things. Guess what has never been found in a single dinosaur or any one of these types of reptiles? The nasal turbinates. In fact, their nasal passageways are too small to take the air inflow that is needed for being warm-blooded. Okay? So why then are they warm-blooded in these movies? There's this guy named Jack Horner. One of the lead paleontologists in the world, was at Montana State University. Really smart guy, fun guy. I like listening to some of the things he has to say about dinosaurs, his approach. He was the one tapped by Steven Spielberg to help to make the movies. And here was the whole thing they were trying to do in these movies.
To help portray scientifically accurate behavior,
Scientifically
filmmakers
accurate.
enlisted the help of paleontologist
How
Jack
accurate have they been
Horner,
so far?
one of the world's leading
No, but they say,
dinosaur
this is all
experts.
scientifically accurate.
Horner's research has been instrumental in changing our view of dinosaurs. He contends that birds, not reptiles, represent their closest living link. For Jurassic's design team, maintaining scientific accuracy would mean breaking the reptilian stereotypes associated with dinosaurs.
The whole idea is to get people to look at dinosaurs more like birds than as reptiles.
So what? In case you didn't know, who's ever heard this idea that dinosaurs eventually evolved into birds? Anybody ever heard of that? Okay. So here's what's funny. This summer, when I'm going to bunches of church camps and VBSs, when I ask people to name me dinosaurs, 90% of the time, there'll be a young person who will shout out, chicken. Because they have read in books and seen in movies and TV shows that chickens came from dinosaurs. Now, wait a minute. A chicken is a what kind of animal? Bird, okay? It's a bird, okay? Birds are warm-blooded, feather-covered. And guess what they don't have? Okay? Some of them have a partial hole. Some of them have no hole. It's just cupped. But none of them have the... Okay? Not to mention, they don't walk upright on their legs. Did you know that? Birds do not walk upright on their legs. You're like, I see them all the time, right? Actually, they're walking upright on their knees. A dinosaur, when it's walking, all of its weight is on the hips. When a bird walks, all of its weight is on its knees. Okay? It's totally different anatomy, okay? They don't have the stuff they need, okay? But they're saying these raptor guys are the ones that evolved into birds. If they're warm-blooded, then what do all the dinosaurs then in Jurassic Park have to be? Guess what everybody now thinks about dinosaurs ever since 1993? Yeah, and guess what they think about velociraptors? They're this big, giant, huge, scary thing. I hate to tell you, velociraptor's no taller than my knee. What they're showing you in the movie is a Deinonychus the size of a Utah raptor. Okay, but that didn't sound as scary, so we got to go velociraptor. Okay, and everybody, okay, stand back up again. Everybody stand back up. Okay, show me your dinosaur hands. Show me your dinosaur claws. Yeah, yeah, that's what I expected. Why are you going like that? Tell me why. Because that's how it's shown in the movies. Do you know why they have them do this in the movies? So they could do what? Open doors. So everybody put your hands like this, okay? You can go like this, okay? Take your hands, go like this, okay? Put them back out like this, go like that. A dinosaur can do all of those things. Guess what is the one thing it can't do? It can do all that's the one thing it cannot do. Also go like this. Can't do this either. This is called supinate. This is called pronate. It can't do either one of them. So here's the rule in paleontology, okay? The rule in paleontology is that dinosaurs are clappers. Everybody go like this, okay? But they are not slappers. They can't slap their knee, okay? I say like they can't play the piano, okay? Besides, how scary is this? No, they can't do that, okay? All right, sit back down. Okay, you see all of this shaped by the movies. If you go to the Chicago Field Museum, you'll walk in there. In the second floor, the Hall of Evolution, you'll see this sign. What's a dinosaur? And it says dinosaurs are reptiles. Yeah, all right, very good, absolutely, that's correct. Then you walk around the corner, and then it says this. Which means they are saying what? Birds are reptiles? Oh, is a bird a reptile? No, is it even anywhere close to a reptile? No, absolutely not.
We have discovered that...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. That was Jack. But if you were to go to the all-knowing Wikipedia, which is just telling you what is currently being taught in academia, and has the source decided where they're getting it from, look at what happens when we look up reptile. Reptiles are more closely related to birds than they are to other reptiles. Wait a minute, just take that statement in for a second. Some reptiles are more closely related to birds than they are to other reptiles. And then it says, for example, crocodiles are more closely related to birds than they are to lizards. So if you take a crocodile and you put beside it a lizard and you put beside it a penguin, I guess, because it's on land and water like a crocodile, you're supposed to look at that and go, lizard, but no, it's much more like the penguin. Therefore, modern scientists prefer to consider the birds now part of reptilia. Birds in the halls of academia today are now being classified as reptiles. Under birds, it says birds are feathered theropod dinosaurs and constitute, have we ever found feathers on any dinosaurs? Never, not one time. 0 times have there ever been feathers found on a dinosaur. But they'll put it in all the pictures, all the movies. Now they'll put it on toys. Has this ever been found? Not one time. Never, ever, ever, ever. Okay, look, this is a children's book I was just given. Feathers. Feathers on a dinosaur. Feathers on the, well, that's supposed to be an Archaeopteryx, but which is a bird, 100% bird, but they have it walking like a dinosaur. Look at there, feathers on that one, feathers on that one, feathers on that one. That's just the cover. Constitute the only known living dinosaurs. Likewise, birds are considered what? Reptiles. Their closest living relatives are the... So they make pictures like this of their evolving. If you didn't figure it out already, there's some major problems with this idea. Okay, for one, look, this is why kids are saying this. This is at Legoland. I took my kids to Legoland. It was cheaper, than going to other places in Kissimmee, Florida. And we're on this part riding on the train, and look at what it says about chicken. What's the first thing it says? T-Rex. This is why when we go places, people say chicken. They don't say crow. They don't say penguin. They don't say dove. They say chicken every time. Because for some reason, they're pushing the whole chicken thing. So they have chicken nuggets in the shape of dinosaurs. Which is fine, but what are they saying, though, with it? You see, we're being evolutionized. We don't even realize it half the time. I've got all kinds of dinosaur anatomy stuff I could show you that shows they're reptiles, 100% reptiles. There are lots of evolutionary scientists who don't believe it because the evidence is ridiculous. Not to mention, here's one of the biggest problems with the whole idea. Guess what is found buried with and even below dinosaurs when we dig up fossils? What do you see? Birds. Lots of them. And they look just like they do today. How could a dinosaur evolve into a bird if a bird is buried with the dinosaur or a bird is buried below a dinosaur? This is why there are many who don't believe this. Is there any science to support any of this stuff? No. This is being pushed so big, though, because this is the number one way they are trying to get young people not to believe this book. Because here's the deal. What number day did God say he made the chicken kind? Now, it wouldn't be chickens like today, probably more like a jungle fowl, but what number day did he make the bird kinds? 5. What number day did he make the dinosaur kinds? 6. So according to God, who was there and provided us the account of what he did, which came first? The chicken kind or the dinosaur kinds? But I have young people who will come and hear all this, and they're like, I just don't know about that. I don't know if I can trust the Bible's history because of what I've been reading and seeing about dinosaurs. You see how scary some of the stuff is that they're doing in these movies just to get you guys to believe this stuff, okay? So that's why I want you to know, never have there been feathers found on them. Never have they been found to be warm-blooded. Instead, when we find dinosaurs in the fossil record, we sometimes find some really wild stuff. What do you notice about these dinosaurs? All their necks are what? Bent backwards. It's an Edmontosaurus just like this right here. It's in a museum in Germany. Look at the one on the right. That one on the left is a Gallimimus in a museum in Oklahoma. This one on the right is called Black Beauty. It's a T-Rex in the Royal Tyrrell Museum in Drumheller, Alberta, Canada. What does it look like was happening to that T-Rex? His head is back. Look at his arms and look at his legs. How good of a swimmer do you think T-Rex was? What was happening to all these dinosaurs? They're all drowning. Find these like this all over the world. And their heads, they're gasping for air, and then they get buried, and then the mud comes in and pushes and crushes their head on down. To get a fossil, does roadkill ever turn into a fossil? No, it gets decayed, it goes away. How do you get a fossil? Okay, you need two things. You need mud, water, and you need it really quickly. Okay? It has to be covered with mud that's brought in by a lot of water to move that much mud to bury entire dinosaurs, 40-foot-long dinosaurs, or down in Argentina, 120-foot-long dinosaurs. That's a lot of mud. That is some massive flooding, isn't it? And where do we find dinosaur fossils? We find them in North America, South America. We find them a little bit in Europe. We find them in Africa. We find them in Asia. We find them in Antarctica. How did all of them get buried by so much mud and water quickly? Because if they weren't buried quickly, what would happen to them? They decay, they decompose, they go away. The mud, the water has minerals in it that starts replacing the bone and with minerals and turns it into rock, pretty much. Okay? What kind of event could have done that? Only the global flood. It's the only way you get all these fossils, okay? Which means what was alive at the time of the flood? Dinosaurs. Which means what should have gone on the ark? Dinosaurs. Wait a minute, how are you going to fit them on that boat? They're too big, aren't they? The Bible actually tells us. The Bible tells us. What are they supposed to do when they get off the ark? What are all the animals supposed to do when they get off the ark? Reproduce, right? Now, reptiles keep doing something their whole lives. They keep growing their whole lives. So the bigger it is, the what? The older it is. Are you going to take big reptiles on the ark? No, because that would mean they're really what? Really old. Do you want to take old animals on the ark? No, because are they going to be reproducing much after? No. You're going to take what? Say it again. Juveniles. So that way when they come off the ark, they have the maximum number of reproductive cycles to repopulate. Also, how big will they be then? This big. The average juvenile size of dinosaurs is the size of a sheep. Okay? This guy right here. See this Edmontosaurus? Okay? This leg right here is the back leg of another one that was over 10 foot tall. That's how big they could get. This right here, above my fingers, is an actual hadrosaur egg. How big was it when it was born? It didn't like that big, about the size of a football. Yeah, exactly. Okay? So you're going to take them as juveniles. Can you take them as babies? Huh? No, because they would also need what? Mama. And we're only allowed to take how many? 2, boy and a girl of each one, okay? After that. So can they fit on the ark? Yes, no problem. They fit no problem, okay? Not a problem at all. But wait a minute then. What should I see in history after the flood? I should see dinosaurs in history after the flood, shouldn't I? Well, we don't see that in history, do we? Job chapter 40, we learn about a particular creature that was an herbivore, had mighty strength, that walked upright on its legs, had this giant, huge tail, had the anatomy, the bone structure that had some hollow bones and some solid bones, just like certain reptiles that walk upright on their legs and have big giant tails. And by the way, it says the largest land animal to ever walk planet Earth, and had to take its shade under the lotus tree, which according to scientists who studied ancient lotus trees, they believe was around 60 feet tall. So it had to take its shade under something that was 60 feet tall. What are we talking about? Sauropod dinosaur. Everybody say sauropod. Long neck, long tailed dinosaurs. Guess what we see depicted, not just in the Bible, but we see in ancient Asia? What do we see? Long neck, long tailed, walking how? And what are they doing? Crossing their necks. That's kind of weird, isn't it? We go down to ancient Asia. Look at what we see. Long neck, long tailed creatures walking how? Upright on their legs. And what are they doing with their? Yeah. We go up to old England in Europe. We have depictions of what? Yes, but also here on Bishop Bell, what do we have? Long neck, long tail creatures walking how? Upright on their leg. And what are they doing with their necks? So not only do we have depictions of sauropod dinosaurs from 3 different continents, 3 different time periods, we have depictions of apparently observed behavior. What do you think they were doing with their necks? Huh? Necking? They're loving each other, giving each other a hug. I hope it wasn't fighting. Could have been. Do we know? Were we there? We don't know, but obviously we have the depiction. We know for a fact because people provided for us in history, they used to do that with their necks. I've never seen that in the movie. Even though we have eyewitness testimony, they did that. People actually saw them do that. Wouldn't that be cool we did that? On Sunday night, I did a whole hour on just this. Depictions and writings about dinosaurs in history. This is a Chinese dinosaur or dragon. What is it? Long neck, long tail, walking how? Upright on its legs. But these aren't the only ones. We've got books out there, a couple different books that show all these depictions from all around the world of these upright walking reptiles that are found throughout. Now the question is, well, what happened to them then, right? What have you heard killed them? What do you always hear killed the dinosaurs? An asteroid. Do you realize what's the only thing that dies in that story? Dinosaurs are the only thing that dies in that story. You ever notice that? You can look up any teaching curriculum. You can look it up in museum displays, whatever. All other reptiles, amphibians, mammals, and birds survive that, no problem. Only dinosaurs go extinct from that asteroid. Boy, that's a really picky asteroid, isn't it? How do you explain only dinosaurs die in an asteroid? In fact, it's such a big problem. If you actually read the scientific literature, a large amount of scientists who don't believe the Bible are like, no, it doesn't work because it only kills dinosaurs. You can't have an asteroid that kills only dinosaurs and everything else survives. We got to have a different idea. And they've proposed some pretty wild ones. I shared some of them Sunday night. Pretty crazy stuff they try to come up with. Here's a biblical idea of what happened, okay? Real quick, and then we're done, okay? Immediately after the flood is a certain event called the Ice Age, where about 1/3 of the planet is covered in ice. To get an ice age, you have to have a couple of ingredients. It has to be really what? Cold, but the water has to be evaporating a lot to provide enough moisture, so the oceans have to be what? Hot. So you have to have hot oceans with cold temperature. How in the world do you do that? See, this is what they don't talk about when they talk about ice ages. But that's the only way you can have it. You have to have lots of evaporation happening that comes over in a really cold atmosphere. Do you know what we believe happened at the beginning of the flood with our one continent? When you split a continent apart, what's going to come up from the ocean floor? Lava, the mantle. You're breaking the crust open. What's that going to do to the temperature It's going to heat up. It's going to superheat it, by the way. There's some computer models where it heats the water up so fast, it launches into the air, into the atmosphere, like supersonic speeds, puts so much moisture up in the atmosphere, it takes like 40 days and 40 nights for it to all come down. That sound familiar? Okay. And then you have that, and then what's the volcanic activity going to be like on planet Earth when you're doing that? Crazy. What does that stuff put up in the atmosphere? What do volcanoes put up in the atmosphere? Ash. It's called tephra. Okay. They put up ash. What's that do to how much sunlight's getting through? It blocks it. Just one volcano. There have been many volcanoes measured in history that we observed. Just one volcano will lower the entire global temperature anywhere from 0.5 degree to 3 degrees by just one volcano. Can you imagine all of them going off? What's that going to do to the temperature? It's going to really bring it down. So all this moisture going up then, okay, so all this moisture going up into the atmosphere, okay, when it then comes over the land and comes down in precipitation, what kind is it coming down as? Snow. And then that summer, is it going to melt? No, and so you have snow upon snow upon snow, and it keeps packing, and you have what's called glaciation. And you have 1/3 of the planet get covered in snow and ice. Now, in other parts of the world, like down around the equator, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's lush. Everybody, whether they believe the Bible or not, say the Sahara Desert at one time was this lush tropical area. It's wonderful. Is it that way anymore? No. So the Ice Age peaks at about 500 years after the flood, and then is gone about 700 years after the flood. Our best estimates, best guesses, okay? Somebody lived right in the middle of that, around Abraham's time, right at the peak of that. His name was Job. Guess who talks more about snow and ice than anybody else in the Bible? And he lived in the Middle East. Isn't that interesting? Since then, historians and scientists have shown we've had naturally occurring warming cycles, cooling cycles, warming cycles, cooling cycles, okay? Naturally occurring. Is there anything we can do about that? No. Is there anything to worry about that? No, just letting you know, okay? Guess what happens way up there at the top, warming period? Guess what happens to the number of dinosaur records we have? We have lots of them then. But then the cold period happens, and then we have another warming period, and then we have a cooling period, and then another warming period. But guess what's happening to the number of records of dinosaurs as we keep going down and down? It keeps shrinking. Where do we find really, really big reptiles today? Yeah, like where? In the Amazon, in the Congo, and India. That's about it, isn't it? We have very few places where reptiles can get really, really big. The Everglades, maybe. But just because it's hot, that doesn't mean they're going to get big. It has to be hot. They have to have lots of water and moisture, lots of humidity. We have like 3 places in the world where they can maybe live today. Big reptiles, okay? So is our world today a good place for dinosaurs? No, it is not. And guess what? That little ice age, you see the little ice age happen right there, 1400, 1850? That's like the last records. And even then, they may be old records then. It may be people's distant memories. They seem to be gone by then. They've gone extinct. That's our best guess. They eventually died. Our world is not good for them. Do we have animals die today, go extinct today? Yeah, we sure do. Because we live in a fallen world. But that's the amazing thing about it. Do we have to worry about what happens in this world? No. We need to worry about what happens where? In the world to come. In the next life. Okay? Because what we need to worry about in this life is, are we walking hand in hand with the Creator who also is our Savior? And who is that? Jesus. He's our Creator, and so He can be your Savior because He's our Creator. And is there anything in science or in archaeology or paleontology or anything else that says, oh, don't listen to this book. It's not trustworthy. Is there anything? No, instead, all the science we do, it supports what? This book, the Bible, absolutely. You all need to check out this little display right here when we're done, okay? These dinosaur fossils, how old are they supposed to be? Yeah, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of years old. Well, this book says we've only been around like 6,000 years or so. Well, if they're really that old, then that's a problem, isn't it? Guess what science has shown us? We drilled inside of that when you see the hole. And we extracted from it, you see the colors there? Collagen. Collagen is the most prevalent connective tissue in your body, in your bones, in your skin, in your ligaments, all that stuff. Guess how fast that goes away once something dies? Pretty fast. I mean, it's tough. It's a very tough protein. It could only last maybe thousands of years. It can last thousands of years. Can it last millions of years? Absolutely not. Guess what that bone right there is full of? Which means the dinosaur bones are what? Thousands of years or millions of years? Only thousands. Does that support this book or the evolutionary idea? It supports this book. Real, observable, testable, repeatable. We did it twice, both sides of it. We repeated it. Falsifiable. The sign right beside it is a scientific journal that was published this January that confirmed it actually is collagen through a different scientific test to falsify it. Turns out it's real collagen. You need to check that out, okay? This book's amazing. You can trust it with everything. Jesus thinks it's so good, he literally bet your eternity on it. I hope you do as well. Let me pray for you. Heavenly Father, thank you for a fun time to get studied about dinosaurs and how they show us how amazing a creator you are and how this world has nothing to say your book isn't true. But instead, every single test shows it is true every time. Over and over and over again, it shows it is truth, and it's from you, our Creator and Savior. And so for that, we thank you, we praise you, and we pray we will live by it and bring glory to you by our lives and how we live them in kindness and gentleness and love and in truth. And we praise you for this. In Jesus' name, everybody said, all right. If you got any questions, feel free to ask. Take a look. I know you already looked at the fossils, got pictures, but whatever. All right. Thank you for coming. Very much appreciate it.
it really be this easy? That you love me like you say you do. I've got years and years of striving when there was nothing left to prove. Could it really be this simple? Your kindness changes everything. It's like your grace is on a mission to tear down my religion. You're all I really need. Hallelujah. Oh, this time, how you love me. How you love me. Hallelujah. It blows my mind how you love me. How you love me. Oh, how you love me. Could it be I'm finally seeing that you're not who I thought you'd be? You're not mad and you're not scary, and all this shame and guilt I've carried is why you died for me. Hallelujah. Oh, this time
bridge thing. Whoo. Yeah, that's okay. So we've been doing the bridge thing, and my job instead of an hour, instead of doing 15 minutes, is the dispersion, okay? It took place at Babel. This is going to be an abbreviated Cliff Notes version, okay? So if you have a specific question, please ask, okay? Because otherwise I'll just maybe blow right by something that you really want to know or understand. So please make sure to ask, okay? So we have in chapter 10, the Table of Nations, considered by those who accept it one of the most remarkable documents in all of antiquity, because it shares with us the ancestry of all of humanity, as in modern day descendants of the tribes and peoples, nations and tongues that went out and populated the earth. The reason we believe this is when the Tower of Babel took place is because the scripture makes special mention in chapter 10, verse 25, that during his day the world was divided, and thus his name became Peleg, which means divide. This is not the only time in the Bible somebody's name was changed, okay, to reflect something that happened, okay? Okay, you all know the examples of that, okay? So that's why it's during this time most scholars place the division of the world, as in by language, and the time of the Tower of Babel. I've heard a couple times, it's pretty rare, but I've heard a couple times, oh, this is when the continent split. Well, if you listened to Matt yesterday, or what I just shared with the young people, what happens if you split a continent? It is literally a global catastrophe. It is a global catastrophe. It will lead to a global flood. But what had God already promised, made a covenant of? He would never flood the world again like he just did. So if you split the continents here, God just broke his covenant. Because there's no way to do that and not have a global flood. Okay? Not to mention, we would have record of that in antiquity. And we do not. Okay? So that's why on our timeline, which I highly recommend, it's $2. Okay? Have you showed them the timeline out there? You can go grab that real quick. You can grab both of them. I'll show them. Okay? We made this timeline to show you from Adam all the way down to Jacob. Okay? Because that's all I could fit on there. I wanted to put Joseph on there, but I didn't have room. We put the Ice Age on there so you can see that relative in time. And then we put Tower of Babel. Okay? So here they are. Okay? This is that timeline. Okay? He said they're $2. And on the back, I put some calculated dates just based on the scriptures and based on history as well, okay? It's just a suggestion, okay? All timelines are subject to change by the next detail that's found. It's so hard to do. Matt put this together, and I think it's the best thing I've ever seen regarding the timeline of the flood, because the text is just remarkable. I mean, the detailed accounts they kept of exactly what day and what month during which year the events of the flood took place. Remarkable. Again, not once upon a time. This is real history. And then you shared the mega sequences? You did not? Okay. The flood layers, the geologic, the conventional idea of the geologic column. We put that on there and how it actually relates to the flood. Okay? So there you go. A couple, I think, really great resources. It's a lot of fun. Okay? So people started moving out. All of history records this. Even other ancient sources. As humanity increased, ancient histories and the Bible record of this great leader named Nimrod. He's not only mentioned in the Bible, he's mentioned in other ones, other texts as well. Born the 4th generation after the flood, so he's Noah's great-grandson. 100 years after the flood, around 2200s BC, he had established the kingdom of Akkad in northern Mesopotamia. According to ancient histories in North America, Central America, Guatemala, Africa, India, Europe, Polynesia, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and the Bible, like I said, I love it when all of history says, yeah, the Bible got it right. Nimrod built a very large ziggurat, or a large tower, tried to, don't know how far he got. Trying to elevate man over God, Genesis 11, we have the account of that. And then after this event, the people were scattered throughout the earth, and thus all civilizations that we have record of today, their histories must begin after that time. Okay? And many civilizations went on to build large pyramid ziggurat-type structures, didn't they? In fact, the oldest ones are the ones that did that more than anyone else, it seems like. Now, they did continue on into the ADs up until like the 1400s. We have some doing it. And now we have some even today still doing it to model the ancient ones. India's full of this. India's full of these type of structures that sometimes you can't really tell the ancient ones from the new ones because they make them look just like it. It's really cool, okay? Matt, could you go grab? This is fun. Could you grab the Tower of Babel book? It's on this side. Okay. And again, as I said, many ancient cultures have in their histories a Tower of Babel and a division of language in their records, in their histories, okay? And you can see the list there, which I got from this book, which I believe is the best book on the Tower of Babel I've come across. I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. By a great researcher named Bodie Hodge, okay? He's the son-in-law of Ken Ham, but a great researcher, and I just think it's the best book on that. Regarding flood legends, used to the number was at least 200 legends have been found worldwide. That was because of John Morris. I'm not asking you to get anything. That one's not even out on the table. Around 200, that was what John Morris had accumulated over his ministry. We have with us under the table, because we don't have room to put it out there, a guy who published a book over 300 flood legends from just North and South America, from Native American histories. Fantastic, okay? But that's like, if you want, that's a very specific kind of resource. That's why we didn't put that on the table. But if you're interested, we do have that with us. Notice that was from every continent except Antarctica. Do we have records of the tower and the division of language? Population graphs absolutely support the biblical account. There's no way humanity or any ancestors of humanity has been around for 1 million years. No way. If so, where are all the bodies and the artifacts? Why is our population just now reaching the level it's at? I mean, look at these populations. Look how long you have to go with no growth because of how fast population curves actually are. Okay? It's an exponential growth rate. And so you cannot have a history more than, look at that, 2000. You go back to the 2000 BC, which is right around the time. Look at that. You cannot have any growth from 10,000 to 2000 BC and have the population we have today. I find that fascinating. But not just population growth, population models. Genetics, as Matt shared. Did you share about mitochondrial Eve? You did. Yep, shared about mitochondrial Eve, okay. That's not the only one who's done that study. The work of Dr. Nathaniel Jeanson, PhD in cell and developmental biology from Harvard. He first showed that the number of total of today's mitochondrial DNA, those mutations and the mutation rate, okay, and the accumulated number of mutations shows that all of us can be traced back to 3 main originators, 3 mothers from which all people today came from. 3 mothers. Why would there be 3 mothers we all came from today? Where did everybody today, who did they descend from? Shem, Ham, and Japheth's wives. And remember, mitochondrial DNA is only passed on through the mothers. Okay? Nuclear DNA is passed on from the father, but mitochondrial DNA is from both, actually. But mitochondrial DNA is only from the mothers. And he shows through the accumulated number and the types of sequences, I don't have the PhD in the cell biology. He does, okay? He shows all this. And the accumulated time is 4,000 years is what the sequence shows. When in our history do we have the flood happening? About 4,300 years ago. So the genetics match up. But then he says between the 3 mothers, They had one originator, and they were about 2,000 years away from it, according to the nucleotide sequences and the accumulated nucleotides and mutation rates. Those three came from one mother, about 2,000 years before them. Who was that? Eve. And the Bible says the flood was 1,656 years from creation, so right around that 2,000-year mark. So people say, well, do you go with the 6,000-year or the 10,000-year? You know, because one is the Masoretic text, one is the Septuagint. I'm like, well, for one, just textually, I've got this whole thing as I think the Masoretic is much more dependable and reliable than the Septuagint. But what's the genetics show us? The genetics always matches the 6,000. So I think that's cool. Okay, the nuclear DNA is what allows us to trace the dispersion, how it's spread across the world. This is what they use in the whole Me-23 and all of those types of things, is the nuclear DNA and tracing the ancestry through that. And look, we have three main lines. And according to the nuclear DNA, they spread out. Okay, that's hard to see. There's orange, blue, and green. I don't have the laser pointer, sorry. Can we dim the lights for just a second? I'm sorry. For a second there. You're getting a little better, there. Yeah, there we go, okay. So you see the orange and the blue and the green. That's Shem, Ham, and Japheth and their descendants going out. This is traced through nuclear DNA. And guess what it matches? Exactly what the Table of Nations in chapter 10 and chapter 11 say. I love it, did you say? All righty. So the orange is Japheth, the blue is Shem, the green is Ham. Okay? So again, fantastic how the science always supports the biblical account. Very cool. Now, how'd they get across to some of these places? Remember that ice age? All that moisture going up and coming down. Well, all that moisture coming out of the ocean, what's that do to the ocean level? It lowers it at least 400 feet. Guess what that exposes? Land bridges. All that light blue would be land, would be green. They could walk literally from France to England, no problem. Okay? They could walk way up there to almost all these islands as well. Okay? Look, you could get all the way to Australia. But what happens when the water levels go back up? When the ice age ends and those polar ice caps melt, what does that do to the ocean level? Raises back up, and you have isolated animal populations and isolated human populations and isolated gene pools, which means the people in those areas are going to start looking all the same and are going to be different than how people look at other places, aren't they? Because you have isolated gene pools. You only have so much genetic information from which you can draw. Okay? And, of course, the Bering Strait. This is now called Beringia because it used to be all connected, and you can see this in all kinds of sources. But here's something really cool that's developed over the last years. They now also believe, because of the archaeological evidence, that people sailed to North and South America as well to settle those areas. These ancient Native Americans sailed there. They're like, well, how about that? You mean these people were really smart? Well, yeah, have you seen the things they built? One of the things used to try to say the Bible's record is wrong is Egyptian history. You can see they tried to take it all the way back to 3000 BC. Well, according to the Bible and what we have, you can't start before 2200 BC. This is done on purpose to try to say the Bible is wrong. The problem is when you read the literature and you actually get into the study of Egyptology and Egyptian chronology, you find out that they admit they're probably off by at least 400 years in just the first dynasty. Instead, here's what we see in Egypt. We first see Noah's grandsons show up. And I'm not saying first, I'm just showing you. First, I'm showing you we have at least descendants of Ham as recorded for us and as recorded in ancient histories as to all these people showing up. And then we have grandsons and where they think they lived showing up in these areas. These are just the grandsons, the great-grandsons. When the Tower of Babel happens, that's at the time of Noah's great-great-great-grandsons. So how many different tribes could be going out and showing up around the earth at the time of Peleg? Lots of them. It's funny, when you read about the pre-dynastic peoples who show up in Egypt, they talk about how, yeah, it's weird, we just have these tribes that all of a sudden just pop up in history, all with their own language, and we have no idea how they got there like that. I'm like, well, I've got an idea. I have a really good idea from a written account given to us by the Lord of how they got there. Okay? It's ridiculous what they try to do. No, look. So here's the first dynasty. They have these lists of kings' names, and they put them in an order. Do they have any evidence of when they reigned and how long they reigned? No. But they make this nice, neat order so they can do what to the timeline? Stretch it out as far. Oh, then there was a second dynasty that had these kings in it. How do you know they weren't part of the first or the third? Were they numbering dynasties? No, of course not. Absolutely, and you'll see the same thing every time. What do you see? Fourth one. Oh, look. They think during these names, we know we at least get the pyramids. Okay. The big one there, Khafre's, which is now referred to as the Great Pyramid of Giza, 481 feet tall when it was built. 481. It's currently 454 because the little peak is off. But Khufu's further it was 471. It was only 10 feet shorter, I think, if I recall correctly. When they were originally made, they were beautiful, smooth limestone on them. They possibly had a gold top that glistened in the sun so you could see them from afar. Really cool. So that's what it would look like originally. It's what it looks like today. The Nile floodplain came right up to it, so you could sail up to it. You can't do that today. So the mortuary temple was right here, because these are for tombs. And the mortuary temple, most temples in Egypt are for prepping a body. They were a one-time use. Okay, so they built these huge temples just for the preparation of the body, which took a month or so to do. And then they would go up the path to the pyramid and put it there. So that's what's left. These are the ruins. Oh, it's hard to see. I'm sorry. You can see the outline of the Sphinx. You have your laser pointer. Yeah, your laser pointer. Okay, you see the pyramid. Okay, there. Okay, now down in front of it, this wall here. That's the old, and especially to the left. That's the old temple that was there. Okay, this is the Sphinx again with the Great Pyramid in the background, and we were standing by the Sphinx there. Okay, very good. You can see how long it was. It was pretty cool. 240 feet long from paw to tail, 65 feet tall, 62 feet wide. Pretty neat. The nose was gone before Napoleon. He did not shoot it off. That's a fairy tale. Okay, they say he used it for like. In 1871, that's how much the sand was covering it. To this day, they have to always, always, always be sweeping the sand away from the Sphinx, from the temples, from the pyramids, to keep it. They've from when they originally were taking pictures of them, they have dug way down to see just how big these pyramids are. Okay, pretty cool about these pyramids. The Great Pyramid, the level of engineering and architecture. 2.3 million large blocks, 5.5 million tons of limestone, 8,000 tons of granite, 500,000 tons of mortar. Many of the casing stones in the inner chamber where the room is for the Pharaoh, they are jointed together with no mortar. The gap between them at the most is a 0.5 millimeter. The four sides are perfectly square in length, within 2.3 inches. And the square angle, the angle of the square, is perfect within 1/300th of a degree. The ratio of the perimeter to height, the angle, is 2 pi. So they apparently knew how to use that back then. And they are perfectly aligned. By the way, this is looking perfectly north, south, east, west. I took this picture from Google Maps last night or this morning. Last night. How are they perfectly aligned? North, south, east, west. Within 1/10 of a degree. The 13-acre base is perfectly level within 5/8 of an inch. 13 acres. They have perfectly level within 5/8 of an inch. Whoo, yeah. Where'd they get this incredible building technology? However it looked. These are artistic renditions of it over the years. All the ancients, like I said, this is the ziggurat of Ur. Dates around 2000 BC. This is Abraham's home, okay? This one is 210 feet long, 148 feet wide, 98 feet tall. We don't know exactly how tall it originally was. Here's the picture of it. Now, is it perfectly aligned north, south, east, west? No, it's not. But I found a paper from 2021 that says the major finding is that ziggurats appear oriented to the sunrise, sunset at the solstices and equinox. And with the moonrise, moonset at the midwinter, midsummer, major and minor standstills. You don't say. How did they know how to do that? But here's another one, though. This is the Cahokia Mounds near St. Louis along the Mississippi River. This is particularly Monk's Mound. It is the largest platform earthen mound in the United States, in all of North America. In all of North America. The second biggest one is down in Natchez, Mississippi. It's big, too. Got to see it. It's 13 acres at the base. That sound familiar? It's actually just a little bigger almost just a little bigger than the Great Pyramid, technically. 100 feet high, 955 feet long, 775 feet wide. Guess what it's perfectly aligned with? There's another angle at it. Guess what it's perfectly aligned with? That's it on the right. Matt, on the right, the square. Where's your laser? There it is. That's it. Look how it's perfectly aligned. North, south, east, west. Matt, over on the left, a little farther, right there. That is wood hinge. They had a stake and then a whole bunch of other stakes in a circle that they could use to measure out their dates and years in alignment with the mound and how the sun would rise and set with the mound in correlation with the posts, the equinoxes and solstices. This dates to around, dates to around 900 to 950 AD. Okay? If you went to the Pyramid of the Moon and the Pyramid of the Sun, and I used to say Tenochtitlan, but I think it's Teotihuacan or whatever, Mexico, the ancient Aztecs, around 8200, about 25 miles northeast of Mexico City. This is standing at the Pyramid of the Moon, looking south, and on the west side, or on the east side there, is the Temple of the Sun. Oh, no, farther. That's the Temple of the Sun down there. And this is the Avenue of the Dead. The Pyramid of the Sun is the third largest pyramid in the world, next to those two big ones in Egypt. It is only 246 feet high. The other ones were 471, 481 feet. But its base, 738 feet across, it's the same as the base, about 13 acres. Pyramid of the Moon is only 140 feet tall, 426 by 511 at the base. Here's a little better pictures of them. This is now looking back north. The Pyramid of the Sun on this left picture, and then the Pyramid of the Moon back there, which is about half the size. And that's another picture of the Pyramid of the Moon there on the right. They are not perfectly aligned north, south, east, west. However, they are perfectly directed at the mountain of Cerro Gordo to the north of them, and in perfect alignment for certain sunrises each year for their festival celebrations to the sun god. This is pretty, okay. And then I think this is amazing. One of my favorites, Machu Picchu, built on the top of a mountain by the Incas around 1450. So not that long ago. But here's what blows my mind. Here's another picture of it. Notice the stones. no mortar. They're all perfectly cut, but they're all perfectly different. And they all fit perfectly together. Remember that temple in front by the Giza, or by the Sphinx? Here's a picture I took of the inside. What do you notice about the stones? They're all different sizes, perfectly cut, perfectly fit together, no mortar, and yet they're all different sizes. It's the exact same stone cutting technology. Where did all this originate from? So anyway, the dynasties, you can still see, they keep stretching them out. They're no dates until really the 12th dynasty. And so Egyptian history doesn't do anything. In fact, I'll just show you this, and then we'll finish up. The creation of a reliable chronology of ancient Egypt is a task fraught with problems. While the overwhelming majority of Egyptologists agree on the outline and many of the details of a common chronology, disagreements either individually or in groups have resulted in a variety of dates offered for rulers and events. The variation begins with only a few years in late period, gradually growing to a decade at the beginning of the New Kingdom, and eventually as much as a century by the start of the Old Kingdom, and eventually by over 4 centuries by the time you get to the beginning of the Old Kingdom. Is there any reason to accept Egyptian chronology as a reason not to believe the Bible? Zero. Okay? So at the Tower of Babel, we have 72 named families. Based on that, okay, and here's the list of them, okay? You have 16 grandsons, 36 great-grandsons named, and there could have been others. But based on that, the population estimates are 1,000 to 10,000 at this time. Plenty of people to build the city. How are they then divided? By what? Language, exactly. Fascinating thing about language, this is from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. They said that there is a relationship between human dispersal and linguistic variation. You don't say. This is what they concluded. However, the geographic distribution of phoneme inventory sizes does not follow the predictions of a serial founder effect, a single line of descent, during human expansion out of Africa. See, if we have one human ancestry come up out of Africa, what should we see in the history of languages? One language from which all other languages came from. That is not what we find, though. Instead, we find multiple groups that just show up in history. And so this Dr. Mark Pagel, how do you say it? Pagel, Dr. Mark Pagel, he has a PhD in mathematics from the University of Washington. He was doing this study back in 2002, and New Scientist ran an article on it. And Matt came across this when he was preparing to teach this for our week of Genesis week at a church camp. And he's like, this is phenomenal. He said, you could take a gorilla or a chimpanzee from its troop and plop it down anywhere these species are found, and it would know how to communicate. So as Matt says, you could take the panda from San Diego Zoo, take it to China, and what would they automatically know how to do? Communicate with each other. You could repeat this with donkeys, crickets, or goldfish and get the same outcome. This highlights an intriguing paradox at the heart of human communication. If language evolved to allow us to exchange information, how come most people cannot understand what most other people are saying? We're supposed to be the smartest, most advanced of all animal life forms, and yet what's the one thing we cannot do when we go around the world? Communicate. Yet all other lower life forms can with no problem. He then says this, look at his worldview. The Old Testament story, the Tower of Babel, the myth, here's his worldview, leads to the amusing irony that our separate languages exist to prevent us from communicating. The surprise is that this might not be far from the truth. Neat little correlation. According to the Ethnologue Languages of the World and the Glottolog database, they have, within those, they have 7,111 languages as of 2019 to provide a catalog of the world's languages and language families, trying to squeeze it down the absolute best they can. Their best is they can get it down to maybe 14 or 15 families of languages. That's the best they can do. And that's really squeezing it. It may be more than that. It could be 16, 17, 18, 20, 22. I've seen that number before. But that's the best they can get it down to. There are 14 or 15 family languages that all of a sudden just appear in human history. Do you remember how many grandsons there are listed there at the Tower of Babel? Isn't that interesting? All right, Matt, what you got for us?
Yeah, I'd rather have that. My ear wouldn't, but yeah.
Check. First off, I want to thank everybody for being here. Some of you have been troopers and been here every day as we've worked on developing a biblical worldview. Thank you, Ryan, for carrying our dispersion. It never ceases to amaze me. We can study the Word of God. And then when we start studying outside sources, we find out, you know what? Outside sources actually do agree with the Word of God. Even in the case of Mark Padgel, that language guy, he set out in his paper, his work for that journal, New Scientist, that paper he was publishing, his desire was to put a nail in the creationist coffin once and for all, using language to prove evolution. It's like, yeah, that didn't work out so well. Because this history is right. So we've been going through this bridge each afternoon, we've been trying to show you that when we have a biblical worldview, we've got to start in Genesis because of the foundational things in Genesis. From the very beginning with creation, how he created everything. From there, we moved on to, listen, why is everything so messed up? Because chapter 3 says we sinned for the first time in history. And we've been doing it since then. So things aren't getting better. Evolution should say everything should be getting better. We should be getting more advanced. Our bodies should be getting better. Everything should be getting better. It is not getting better. So from there, we tried to show, I tried my best yesterday, to show this thing called indignation, this righteous wrath that the Lord had because of the wickedness 4,300 years ago. He brought a global judgment against sin. But there's going to be another one. So it's important for us to see and understand what the flood did, the details in the scripture that we studied yesterday, that we can go out and see the evidence of it when we go to the Grand Canyons, when we go to the mountain ranges, we can go wherever we go, when we see fossils in a fossil record, all show us that a flood actually happened over the entire planet. The Tower of Babel with the beginning of civilizations based on language from the Tower of Babel can be supported, as Ryan just showed. Almost every civilization has some kind of a flood model in it also. a flood idea. Almost every civilization. There's many civilizations, 200 and some, if memory serves me right, like 217, have exact details that match the Word of God's details. But then what happens, though, is we get these guys that are like, well, that's because Moses wrote the ideas from those people. That's why the Bible matches them. But you've got civilizations all around the world with the same details. Like, how did they all agree and not be living together? Not be hanging out together? You've still got a chicken and egg problem. Unless the text of the Word of God is the right history that everybody would have known and understood at the Tower of Babel because it was their grandpa that went through it. And then when they left by language, took their skills, took their understanding, took their knowledge, separated. The desire of the people at the Tower of Babel was to make a name for themselves, not to worship their Creator, their God. So that brings us in our bridge today, the last two letters. The first is gospel. Sunday morning, I did my best to show to you who Christ is. He was not just a man that showed up in the picture of history 2,000 years ago. He is also God. He is our creator. We could go to Colossians. We could go to many different places, beginning of John. He's described over and over again as our creator. Through him, everything has been made. John calls him the Word in John 1. If we go back and we think about what we studied a few days ago about creation, the Lord, as he created things, he spoke it into existence through the Word, through Christ. So this gospel, this good news, has its authority because he's our creator first. I think we saw that. If you just study through, as my message Sunday morning was about studying a couple miracles that he did, we see him, he's showing us who he is when he's doing miracles. He's not doing it, as I mentioned Sunday morning, he's not doing it for a wow factor. That's cool. He's doing it to show everybody around him, I'm different. I am here not to do these miracles, but to show you through the miracles who I am, to show you what I am here, and that's to save you, to give you hope. So we can look at miracles that he did. We can acknowledge, listen, when he changes water to wine, he's controlling that first matter he made. You know? Like when he goes walking on it. Who better to walk on it than the one who made it? He calms the wind and the waves. Who made those? Who controlled those for the course of a whole year to judge sin during the flood? Who shut them off? When he calls Peter to be a disciple, they've been fishing, and he comes to him and he says, go ahead and go back out, cast your nets on the other side. These avid fishermen who know how to fish, been doing it all night, not catching anything, and here's this yahoo that walks up on the scene and says, why don't you go back out there, put it on the other side of the boat. It's going to work on the other side of the boat. Can you just think about your life's work, somebody showing up to you that you have no idea who he is. He shows up one day and he's like, just try it a different way. And you're like, dude. But who made those fish? He did. trying to show them who he was. Peter immediately got it. Peter got it. He feeds 5,000 people with fish he's made, grain he's made that's made into bread. Matthew chapter 17, he takes Peter, James, and John with him up a hill at one point. He says, you guys hang out right here. I'm going to go spend some time with my Father. And what happens before Peter, James, and John's eyes? How does Jesus change before them? The text in chapter 17 of Matthew says, he becomes white as the sun. Bright as the sun. The harmonizing text says he looks like lightning. He showed Peter, James, and John day one light. When he said, let there be light, that is his power, that is his glory. Peter, James, and John saw it on the mountain that day. The same light we get to see in eternity someday. Remember, no longer need the sun or the moon. Who's going to be our light? The light of him transfiguring himself before those three. Didn't do it for a wow factor. He did it to show us who he is. His friend Lazarus is not doing well. The servant comes and says, Jesus, you need to come now. He says, it'll be okay. What happens to his friend? He dies. Puts him in the tomb. Jesus shows up. A few days later, he shows up. What's the family situation? What's the dynamic when he shows up? They are not happy. Like, if you were here, he wouldn't be dead. They know who he was. They'd been there to see him heal people, heal sicknesses, heal diseases. That's why they sent somebody to him. Says it's going to be okay. Going to show you his glory. What's he do? Takes them out to the tomb, right? Move the stone. Open it up. And they're like, no, listen, he's been in there for days. He's going to stink. It physically says that in Scripture. Like somebody was like, what are you thinking? Like, have you been around a dead body? Jesus, like, it stinks after a few days. Just do it. I'm here to tell you, I cannot wait to hear. When he speaks your name, there is life. Lazarus, come forth. Who made Lazarus?